Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ohio State Primetime Live. I'm your co-host, Brian Stano.
I'm Garrison Gaddy.
As I'm dropping my phone, Garrison. So, another day of spring practice happened today, and we got some interesting news from Ryan Day. And one of the big pieces of news that came out is there will actually be a spring game. He's been calling it a spring showcase for a few weeks now, and he decided to just confirm with everybody that today or this year there will still be a spring game. So he called it a spring showcase to kind of give himself some wiggle room in case there was injury or he thought his team needed more rest. So what are your thoughts on the fact that there will actually be a spring game and it's kind of going to go on as normal?
I'm happy as a fan. Again, last time we talked about this, Ryan, I told you very passionately that I believe the spring games are a time where a lot of families are able to go see their team play. So they'll bring their kids. Sometimes they can't afford it. It allows them the chance to go see their team and what they look like. Because let's be honest here, and this isn't every football fan base, but let's talk specifically about ours. We love our team. we really do. We love our program. And I think that it's a full year thing, a full year round thing for us as fans of the Buckeyes. So I'm happy about that. For the team, I'm glad that again, he says showcase, and I get why he did that. But I think it's also to show that I'm gonna assume there's gonna be some hitting, but like the last few years, as we've seen, it's gonna be very, very limited. Again, I'm not upset with that. I'm very okay with that. I remember last year, everyone, all the rival people would talk about Ohio State being soft and not hitting, and I said, well, knowing that there's a chance you can probably play 16 some games. No, I don't want you hitting in the spring. I don't.
Yeah.
NFL teams don't, like NFL players, they don't. So it's but I like the idea. How about you?
Yeah, I'm happy. Yes, no, absolutely happy that this is happening. Like you mentioned, it's good for the families that want to go out there. It's a cheap ticket. Good chance for them to go see, who's playing well in the spring, who's on the depth chart, high up on the depth chart as we, end spring and head into fall camp. Like you said, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of hitting, which there hasn't been the last few years on a Ryan Day. So I didn't expect that to change. And I agree with you in the fact that is good. The last thing you want is some sort of injury coming out here. I know Mitchell Melton had, he tore his ACL once during a spring game, but those non-contact things, those can happen during practice. As we saw with Seth McLaughlin, he tore his Achilles, during practice. Those non-contact injuries, you can never escape those. But you can mitigate risk of injury from having a full-on, tackle football game. And that's obviously not what they're going to do. And I think it's, I think it's smart that they're still doing it because the fans love it. The Ohio State fans, that they show out, there could be 50, 60,000 people at the game, depending on how the weather is. So I think it's great. And, we've lamented here in the last few weeks the different programs who are canceling their spring games. And it's just good to see that Ohio State is not going that way. And I completely understand Day saying that, like, hey, I wanted to give myself some wiggle room in case we do have some injuries later in the spring. And, you want to make sure that he didn't promise a full spring game and then it not happen because of injuries, or he thinks his team needs rest, things of that nature. So I'm perfectly fine with that. And, this was some good news today.
Is there just I guess specifically for the spring game and the showcase, is there a specific way that you would like it to be ran? Whether it be 7-on-7 or more?
No, I definitely wouldn't prefer more 7-on-7. I like the way that they've been doing it, as far as it's still 11-on-11. You still get to see. Look, you're not going to learn a ton from the defense specifically, and also the running backs, because like they're going to do two-hand touch. They're not going to wrap and bring anyone to the ground. So it's kind of hard to discern what we're really going to get from the running game, which is kind of a bummer considering you don't have a whole lot of experience at the running back position besides CJ Donaldson.
Yeah.
So, but again, that is what it is. It's one of those things that you take as long as you're mitigating the injury risk, but you can still learn some things. You can definitely learn how the quarterback, how the ball's coming out of the quarterback's hands. You can learn how the defensive backs are playing those routes. I think the way they've been doing it is fine. Now, if they want to scale some of that back and not do, quite as long of an 11 on 11 session and then bring on some 7 on 7, that's fine. But I do need to see some 11 on 11. What about you?
Yeah, you got to see it. And at the end of the day, it's in football, you can't, if one guy's not doing his job, then it can screw up everything else that's going on. And so you have to get everyone out there, have to see what it looks like. Again, like I try to remind people, a spring game is not the place to judge. I think there's specific things you can look for in terms of, where guys are lining up. I would say you can look for personal improvements. Like if I'm watching, I'm looking to see what are you doing with your hands. How are your feet moving? Are you able to, mirror or shade the wide receiver? If you're someone, someone that who I personally, because I'm from the same area as him, I'm delighted hearing good news about him. If you're someone like Gabe Van Sickle, I want to see, okay, how are you, what improvements have you made coming in from your freshman and sophomore year? How many positions on the O-line can you play, knowing that now, Ryan Day has talked about having multiple guys, everyone being able to have a primary and secondary position on the O-line. I think those things I'm looking for. But I'm not looking to see what a quarterback looks like. Just recently I had disagreement here with, my guy Darren from Darren Talks Football, Michigan fan, but great Big Ten program. And he talked about he was comparing Dante Moore and Julian Santa about their tape. And I said, well, I disagree with him saying, I don't think there's any valuable tape for either player. And I'm definitely not taking it like the few snaps from Julian Santa during the season. We threw 12 passes, 5 of those passes came in one game.
Yeah.
And then, he threw some balls in the spring game where he's not working with the first team. He's going against the first team defense, though. Mind you, in spring games, the defense will always have the drop on the offense because they've been seeing these plays all week, all month, and that's for a few months. And that's just it. It is what it is. Yeah. Mind you, Justin Fields went 4 for 13 in the spring game.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely take more from what Dante Moore's put on tape. He almost started an entire season. So, he's definitely got more tape out there. But completely agree with you on that. As far as the Big Ten Network will air it, they do it every year. So that will be, that won't be a problem. They're going to go ahead and show the game. Ohio State is their biggest. Ohio State's, quite frankly, it's their biggest product on the Big Ten Network, so they'll definitely showcase that. There was, some other good news that I saw, come across as far as the Buckeyes go. They seem to be really impressed with how Sayan has done so far this spring, which is good to see. And I also saw something interesting. This came from a Buckeye Huddle, that James Peoples has actually been more – he's asking to watch pass protection film with the offensive linemen because he knows that's an area that he's weak in, and he wants to improve on that. And I find that's, quite frankly, very refreshing. They're like, he knows where he lacks, and he wants to make up for that, so he's going to do everything he can to try to improve that part of his game because he knows it's going to be very – that running back, the backup running back spot is not stepped in stone yet. And he still thinks he can win the starting job over CJ Donaldson, who's also looked really good. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that, as far as Peoples really getting in there and trying to grind with the offensive linemen on film.
First of all, I love that. One of the things I've been harping on when it comes to this new running back room is that usually when you have a bunch of young guys, that means they're probably not that good at pass defense, pass block. Usually they're not, because coming out of high school, that's something that you usually don't have to do because you're the star guy. They're giving you the running back, and that just is what it is. But to hear James Peoples doing that, I love it. That means he tried to become a more complete back. Just recently, I saw Todd McShay was talking about Travion Henderson and only going through his blocks from the season, only going through the block. And you look back with Ezekiel Elliott, and a lot of people forget the reason Zeke got drafted so high was because he was seen as the best. Yes, he was a really good, basically great running back, but he was really good at pass blocking. And at that time, Dak Prescott was not supposed to be the quarterback. It was supposed to be Tony Romo, and they needed someone else to protect him. So
he wasn't just a good pass blocker; he was a good receiver too. Like he was a full package.
He could do it all.
Yeah.
And I believe that for James Peoples, and by the way, James Peoples, you are a unit. You are. I was looking at his arms, man. I was like, man, how's he can't even touch his shoulders?
Yeah.
But well, I'm very happy to hear that. Coach Lockley, he's said a lot about this running back room. I think he trusts his running backs, but you gotta see it. You gotta see it day by day. Again, we have no soft batch cookies in that running back room.
Yep.
No.
So. Agreed. Some other interesting news from Day's presser. He also said that during Ohio State's pro day, Will Howard will be throwing to current Ohio State wide receivers. He'll be throwing to Carnell Tate and Brandon Inniss, along with Ibuka, obviously, who is also trying to be a first round pick. So the main guy who the scouts wanted to see, he won't be partaking. Jeremiah will not be out there. Scouts will have to wait at least another year to see him.
Yeah.
But I think this could be a good opportunity for both Tate and Inniss to get some face time with the scouts, specifically Inniss, because we still don't know exactly what all he can bring to the table. I know both of us are high on him, but the rest of the country doesn't really know how good he is yet. So I think it's a really good opportunity for both of them. What do you think of those two guys, being a part of Pro Day?
Well, first I'll say I know every scout was really pissed off when they found out that Jeremiah Smith was not going to be out there. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was too. Yeah. I was too. I thought it was going to be a situation where CJ Stroud's Pro Day, it was almost like, yeah, they're there to see CJ, but a lot of people were there to see Marvin.
See Marv, yeah.
So I thought it was going to be something like that. But I also think in terms for Will Howard, secondly for Will Howard, it's good for these scouts to see him throwing the ball to everyone not named Jeremiah Smith. Because let's be honest, because of Jeremiah Smith's catch radius and just who he is, it can be a little bit easier. But I think, again, it allows to show that, he's better than what a lot of people say he was. It's good for Carnell Tate to get some film out there. Not film, but just get his face out there, let everyone see who he is. For the last 2 years, he's been kind of like in the background. Last year, wide receiver 3. And I had an honest question for some Oregon fans, and they didn't want to ask it. And I wasn't sitting here saying he was better, but I asked, "Are we sure Evan Stewart's better than Carnell Tate?"
I saw you on social media. I saw.
I'm just asked. I just want to know. It's not that I'm saying Eastu isn't better than him, but I'm just wondering. Skill for skill.
We're going to find that out this year for sure.
Yeah, we definitely are.
Yeah. And I also think this is –
man, he's someone I think he is very underrated. We've talked about it already before.
Yeah.
Very underrated.
We both love him. And I think this is, you briefly mentioned this. I also think this is good for Will too, like to show scouts that hey, I don't just need – I can be successful when Jeremiah's not, the guy mossing people out there and, getting open whenever he wants. I can still throw, these on-time routes to these other two guys who are still really good, but they're not, top 5 NFL draft pick potential. So, his NFL Combine performance, it wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't as bad as everyone, as opposing fan bases wanted to make it seem. So I think it's good for him to go out there and showcase what he can do with two guys who are still really good, but aren't a really generational prospect. And that, again, that's no slight to Carnell or Brennan, and they're just Jeremiah's just built different, and we saw that last year as a freshman. So I think it's
also pretty mecca for him. I mean, it's another opportunity.
He's one of those guys who's trying to fight his way to be a first-round pick. Like
I have this up here. I wanted to show you this. I'm sure you saw it, but it was what's his nuts? I thought I had it bookmarked. I don't think I'm going to define this for you, but I was
you go ahead and you try to look at it, but I've got some quick thoughts on Igbuka while you look for it. So, Igbuka is one of those guys who he is right on the cusp of being a first-round pick, and this is a pretty, compared to last year, this is a pretty weak wide receiver draft. So, I would hope he would be one of those guys who could be a first-round pick. It obviously hurt that he wasn't that they got hurt, not in 2024, but 2023 was kind of a lost season for him because his ankle just wasn't quite right. So, this past year, he was actually able to show a little bit of what he had looked like in his sophomore and really freshman year was really when he really came onto the scene. So, I'm interested to see, and a lot of scouts want to see what he runs on his 40. I think that's going to kind of be the determining factor as far as what he is able to, where he's able to get drafted at. Because right now, as far as wide receivers go, there's not a clear-cut list. I mean, some people really like Marcus Golden as, the wide receiver one. Some others, are popping up there. But I think Igbuka could be one of those guys that's taken in the, high 20s, low 30s, one of those kinds of guys. And if not, then he's definitely getting taken early in the second round. And one of those teams who got a quarterback early is going to get a good receiver to have him throw to.
Yeah.
By the way, I was counting Travis Hunter as a defensive back, as he does seem to be a better corner, but obviously he would be wide receiver one if he does decide to play wide receiver.
But I just when I saw this from Chris Sims, and it's almost like he has a I don't want to say he has. I think he has a negative connotation because of the way he saw Marv. Also, Chris, Garrett Wilson. He raised Ohio State when he was really low.
I think he raised arms because of that. He's just looking for engagement from Ohio State fans. That's all it is.
Because I'll be honest, when I saw the Kyle Williams and Jalen Noel, but not Emeka,
a lot of people do like Noel. I'll say that. Jalen Noel, he's going up draft boards.
Mm-hmm.
But to have Trey Harris and honestly to have McMillan ahead of him, that's kind of disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Williams, you can debate that fine. Travis Hunter, sure, he's number one. I'll agree with that. But you're right, to not even have Igbuka in the top 5, especially with how bad in general the wide receiver class is this year. Come on. He knows what he's doing. We know. So, yeah, that's absurd. Those were a lot of the big news and notes that came from the from the coaches meeting today. Although there is one other thing that I'll get to because I know it'll make you happy.
Oh yeah,
and it's actually something that one of our viewers here already mentioned. He liked what Matt Patricia had to say, and I know you saw it, so I'll just go ahead and open up the floor to you to talk about your boy.
I put out a poll today. I'm not sure if you saw it. Everyone, if you go to my account, you'll find it there. Listen, I'm giving out free tickets on the Matt Patricia fan club train. Now, if you listen, you can get aboard.
The tickets are already free. They're not. You don't need. They're not charging to join.
No, they're free right now. They're never gonna start charging. Mm-hmm. I will write out. I'll go on Microsoft Word and type out an apology letter for you guys to sign, and that will be your ticket back in into Matt Patricia's good graces. But listen, I'm impressed with them. I'm not, I've said everything how I felt before. Today, this kind of just gave me more affirmation about him.
Why don't you tell the
here,
people
man.
what he said? Why don't you tell the people what exactly he was going out
So
there saying?
I wrote down put down a few things, and one of my favorites that he said he's just learning how to communicate with communicate his defense, learn the kids as just basically as people, learn about their families, where they come from, things of that nature. Saying for him, it's just important for him to listen and learn. That shocked me. The fact, because again, I know the perception that even I have brought up here with you about how he is seen.
Yep.
But when I see that, man, it makes me very happy to see that. He also talked about looking for flexibility within the defensive line. Talked about Mitch Melton in this injury, but also just there's a lot of, and we've talked about this. There's a lot of depth that's missing at that position, and it's not so much that there's not talented guys in that position group. They just haven't proven much.
Yeah, even the guys we haven't seen yet. Yep.
Exactly. Even the guys that are going to start, guys like Caden Curry, guys like Kenyatta, guys like Edric Houston, guys like McDonald. We believe that they are going to be very good football players. We can also sit here and be honest and say, what have you proven? And in all reality, in terms of a full slate of the schedule, they have not done that or a starter. So, yeah. What did you think about Matt Patricia's?
I've told you, nothing he's going to say to this point is going to really look. He said all the right things, which I expect him to. Like, he's a media trained coach. He's been in the game for a while. He understands how it goes, so he knows exactly what to say to make fans happy. And that's what he's done so far. And I would be more concerned, quite frankly, if he didn't know how to do that at this point. But like I've mentioned before, nothing's really going to change for me until we see what is out there on film. Like, until we actually see what is going on, in the fall, how the defense is played, how he's able to make the defense better. That's really what I want to see. So nothing he can say right now during the spring can change anything for me yet. And, I see the look on your face, and I know exactly what you're looking at, and I'll get to that here in a second. Yeah, that's what I was also looking at. Yeah, I'm just going to very briefly address this. If you don't think Travis Hunter is a top 5 pick in the draft, you just don't know ball. I'm just going to simply say that. Because he is the number 1 corner and the number 1 wide receiver on the board.
Juju. I know you like to troll, but there's a difference between trolling and saying
dumb shit.
Like Travis Hunter is a generational player. Like I don't throw that word around a lot. He is generational.
Absolutely.
I'm very sure that outside of linebacker in anywhere in the trenches, he could play anything in football. If he had wanted to be a quarterback, I think he could have played quarterback. If he had wanted to be a running back, I think he could have been a running back. Maybe not a tight end because he ain't that big. He's a very slender guy. But without a doubt, he was a top 5 corner. He was a top 5 wide receiver. And had he actually just stayed with one, chances are he would have been like, if he never played any wide receiver last year, and he got to focus all his time on corner and just compile stats in that position, he would have been the best corner in the nation.
Yep.
Had he just focused on wide receiver and not played corner, he would have challenged JJ as the best wide receiver in college football. He would. So I don't. Come on, man. We know what we're seeing here. We know what we're seeing.
Top 5 at both positions in this draft class, and quite frankly, in any draft class recently, like, he'd probably be the number 1 corner last year, 2 years ago. I mean,
yeah.
In some wide receiver drafts, okay, maybe he's the 3rd best wide receiver, but like, he's top 5, absolutely.
But that's like a draft where you're talking about there's guys like when the one draft where you're talking Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams that all get picked right, back to back with each other.
Yeah.
Like maybe in a draft like that he's picked 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. But any other draft, he's the guy.
Yeah, agreed. So, back to Ohio State things. As far as, news and notes from the spring practice today, there wasn't a whole lot more, but I know we had a big time prospect who visited over the weekend, and he's the number 1 recruit in the entire country. Jackson Cantwell went ahead and visited, and he seemed to like his visit. However, it doesn't seem like Ohio State is high on his list from what I've heard. And from what I've been told, Columbus might be too big of a city for him. This is a guy who's from Nixa, Missouri. But you're also looking at some of the other places who want him. Like, also, regardless of college, like, what happens, like, if you're the number 1 recruit in the country right now, that means you are projected to be a top 5, top 10 pick. You're going to get drafted by some pretty good teams who, well, not some pretty bad teams who can play in some pretty big cities. Like, what happens if you get drafted by New York or, either New York team or either Los Angeles team? Those are some pretty damn big cities, or Chicago. I think it would be better for you if you went ahead and got adjusted to a little bit. And Columbus isn't nearly as big a city as any of those cities I just mentioned. So I feel like it would be smarter for him to go ahead and get used to that in college as opposed to having a big culture shock when he gets to the NFL. But maybe there's some other things going on that may not, there may be some other reasons as to why maybe Ohio State won't be where he ends up. What are your thoughts on the Cantwell visit?
It's not one of the more confident prospects I think Ohio State should have. I do believe there's a chance that he could go to Ohio State.
Yeah, I don't think they're completely out of the woods. I don't think they're completely knocked off the list yet.
No, it's not there, but it's one of my favorite expressions, Ryan, is seeing the forest from the trees. I think this is one of those situations where I can see the forest from the trees, and I can understand he's probably not going to Ohio State. And it sucks because I think, again, he's someone that can start day one. When describing him, I say like his eyes don't lie. He has very good feet. He's very athletic. We know who his parents are. Dad's a silver medalist in top of him. But I wonder again. We bring up the Ohio State's a very big city, which it is. If you compare,
Columbus is like it's a mid-sized city compared to some of these NFL
if you compare it to Ann Arbor, it's a big city.
Sure. And compared to Nixa, it's massive.
Yeah. From there he said about his relationship with Coach Tyler Bowen. It's good and getting better. The message he has given me is the staff. They have a winning mentality at Ohio State. And it's perfect for someone like me. So again, that's good to hear. It shows that. I'll put it this way. Yes, I understand that if there's a reason why we're going to get him, I'm going to completely put on Tyler Bowen. As in, I'm not going to blame him if we don't get him, but if we do get him, I'm giving him the 100% credit.
Yeah,
for that absolutely. I'm going to have to assume that Coach Day has been part of the process for a guy like him. For a player like him, you have to be.
Yeah, as a head coach, you got to get in process for the number 1 overall recruit.
But and then I'm also guess Brian Hartline's got to be part of this process. It's an all hands on process, as I'm sure it is for everyone else. And what you have to do is show, as I would say, especially this season, you have to show and prove that you are developing. That as your Tyler Bowen, you can develop the really young offensive line unit that we have and bring it together. I think that's what you have to do coming off of last year's season, where I believe Ohio State was very impressive on what they did with their old line and how they were able to maneuver around injuries and shift it around. So,
yeah, agreed. 14th largest city in the U.S. That's by metro population. We've talked about this before. By just actual city population, it's not quite that large. But it's still, like I said, almost every other NFL city. There's a lot of NFL cities that are going to be bigger. Besides like Jacksonville, that are going to be, more of an adjustment for them. But, we'll see if Bowen can pull off a miracle and bring them in. Obviously, that would be great. But we'll see. We'll see. Also saw this. I don't think we need a brace for Chris Henry.
Yeah, I'm right with you. So Richie, I'll put this simply for you. If you're Chris Henry Jr. and the best wide receiver coach in college football will be your offensive coordinator with a head coach who who unapologetically loves to throw the ball. There ain't much you got to worry about. I think Chris Henry's a Buckeye, and and let's be honest here, man. I think Chris Henry. And I don't know the kid. I'm not in his head. I don't know. He's never said this. It's just speculation. I think Chris Henry wants to see what it'll be like his freshman year with him and Jeremiah and guys like Mylan Graham on the same field.
Yeah.
I think he wants to see that, and chances are the quarterback is either going to be Julian Sand as a senior, or it's going to be Tavian St. Clair.
Yeah, I am not worried about I'm not worried about Henry flipping at all. He's talked about how other programs have tried to come in and flip him and woo him with a bunch of NIL money, and he has actually just go away. I'm not listening. I'm locked into Ohio State. So I would be actually shocked if he went ahead and flipped. Because like you mentioned, he's going to get NIL money anyway. Brian Hartline's the best wide receiver coach in the country. And now he's going to be running the offense. So it's going to be more pass centric, we think. And he's going to have a very talented quarterback thrown to him, whether it's Julian Sand, which I would assume it'd be Julian Sand again next year, or Tavian St. Clair, whoever. No, it's going to be a 5-star quarterback throwing him the football. So I don't see any reason why he would flip at this point. So that would shock me.
Oh man, let's get to a few comments and then we'll get to our ad here. There was one I saw. I don't think Miami's getting him, Juju. I don't.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I would say it's going to be either you guys up north.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I don't think Miami is.
Yeah. I could see Oregon.
Or it's more likely. I think it's going to be more than likely Oregon. I think.
Yeah. Although, I mean, do they have endless NIL money? I understand Full Night's like rich, but I mean, they're dropping all kinds of money on everybody.
Hey, man, as long as those sweatshops are working, he's got money.
Yeah.
Day one, what's going on, man? Nice to see you in here. Oh, let's see. I want us to get some surprise flips in our favor. Fuck it, let's go for a double champ. Man, listen. I mean, would you count Julian Sand as a flip?
No, because he was enrolled somewhere else.
For like a hot coffee and a donut hole.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but if Nick Saban were to stay there, like he was going to be there.
Yeah,
like he committed to Saban, so I wouldn't consider that a flip.
See this right here. Use St. Clair versus Underwood will be set up for the rivalry. Oh yeah. Oh, in a couple years here, man. I think we're gonna it'll be like a memorable. I think it'll be like a memorable thing for the rivalry when we talk about 20, 30 years from now about Michigan having their hometown, like their home state kid, and Ohio State having theirs, and going back and forth and seeing how that rolls out. Yeah, that's gonna be something to watch too. What do you think about that?
Well, I think Underwood's got a better chance of playing early than St. Clair does, just because of the fact that saying, he's probably going to win the job this year. And we've talked about how it's, really, really tough for a true freshman at Ohio State to come in and win the job. Now, it's probably not going to be that hard for a true freshman to go in Michigan and win the job. But that tells you more about the state of Michigan's quarterback room. Exactly. So Ohio State is, I wouldn't be shocked if St. Clair is one of those guys that ends up playing just in his junior and senior year, or just 1 year, and then he's gone because he, plays so well. But at the very least, I think we'll get 1 year where they're both on the field together.
Like I said, man, Ohio State, man. I mean, 2019 was different, But I mean, right now, I'm not worried about Ohio State having shit in their quarterback room. You know, we don't have Davis Warrens, we don't have Alex Orgies, so you know, that's the good thing.
Yep.
So, message here from the Boys College Football: get your business, product, service, or personal brand to the next level by partnering with the Voice of College Football. See what our partner Win Agency on the screen here has to say about its sponsorship experience with us here at the network. Let's discuss how you also can reach your target market. Contact us at sponsorships@vocfb.com. Again, that is contact us at sponsorships@vocfb.com.
So, there was one other piece of news that I actually did see. Again, coming from Buckeye Huddle. It was one that I saw that, you know, they wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State went and got another tackle in the spring transfer portal, to try to add some depth and or have more of a starting tackle battle. Because right now it seems like they're still having Austin Sierreveld. Apparently that's real, where they're actually trying to maybe make him a left tackle and maybe try to have him fight for the starting job, which I think is very interesting considering they got both Ethan and Jalen Daniels to come out. So I don't know exactly, you know, what the plan is here. I don't know who they think they might be able to get in that spring portal, but I thought that was kind of interesting. What do you think?
So this was actually a name I have here on my list, Austin Sierreveld, to talk about. You know, one of the Iron Buckeye. Ryan Day said that you know, he has a different look in his eye.
Yeah.
You know, says that of course you gotta see it on the field. But you know, this is big time college football. And yes, we know we went and got Philip. We went and got Onyanwa.
Yeah, Philip Daniels, not Jalen Daniels, but apologize.
But if Austin Sierreveld is playing, you know, if he's looking better than them, I understand why. And you know, he's getting Iron Buckeye, which is a very important thing to get or achievement at Ohio State on the football program. I'm happy to hear that. Now, in terms of getting another tackle in the spring, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that's good for depth pieces. Again, you know, when we talk about the offensive line depth, again, you know, I brought up Gabe Vinsecco from earlier. He's been taking second team reps. You got the twins back there, like Austin Sierreveld in the second team, going with the first team on some reps also. So like I think that Austin's more of the only guy that's interchangeable.
Yep.
So yeah, I think going in the spring portal, and you're usually never going to get, you know, some big time player out of the portal during this time, unless you have a guy that wants to leave Alabama, go to Iowa for a hot second, and come back to Bama.
Yeah.
But outside of that, yeah, I'm okay with it. I think it's a smart move. If you have the scholarship space, why not?
Do you think that they're actually going to be able to get anybody of impact who could fight for a starting tackle job?
No.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And if they did, but yeah. I've never seen much come out of the spring portal that's usually worth talking about. You know, it's hard to do because by that time teams are, you know, ingrained into their system that, you know, they've learned this playbook. And honestly, that's a late moment to come and join another team and hope you can make some impact when there are players already that they've been established there.
It is.
So
you know, you talk about how most of the times when you're in the spring portal, you don't have a lot of there's a chance, you know, you don't have guys who can make a lot of impact because it was a little bit later there, unless you're Justin Fields, who came in during the spring and was immediately the starter. You know, those type of players don't come along very often in the transfer portal. So I agree with you. I don't think that they would get anyone who they think would be an immediate impact from the portal. They're probably, if they're looking, they're going to look for guys who just can give them depth, which, like you, I have no problem with. We saw what good offensive line depth can do for them last year. I mean, they had guys going down left and right, and they were able to plug guys in and be fine and win a national championship. So that's something that, I think is smart for them to go out and look for other guys. But like you, I don't think they're going to find anyone of impact. Now, as far as Sierreveld is specifically concerned, I understand that he was moved around to different guard spots. Last year, obviously left and right guard, but I don't think either one of us were particularly impressed with what we saw from him. But it kind of scares me that they're working him out at left tackle and they think that he could be the starting left tackle, because what I saw at guard does not lend me to think that he can be any good as a starting left tackle. Like I would rather, give that spot to Ethan, quite frankly.
Yeah. But what about, listen, I mean, it's not beyond the pale that maybe Austin turned that corner.
I'm not quite going to go that far.
No, I'm saying there's another chance that he might have. Like Ryan Day said, he has a look in his eye. He won the Iron Bucket, but you guys still in the field. You guys still in the field still.
You know what? I'll say this: it's good he won Iron Bucket. That means he's working hard. Like, he obviously wants to get better, so that's something positive. I did see something today. Someone in my football group chat on Twitter went ahead and alerted me, or just alerted us in general, to this occurrence. And there was someone who on ESPN wrote an article about the most impactful transfers for different programs. And one of the impactful transfers that, they thought was going to make, and these are guys who they think can make an immediate impact. I'm talking day one, go out there, start and do something. And look, I don't want to throw more disrespect on, this person's name, because he wasn't able to truly show what he could do because he got hurt right after being thrust in. But that man wrote Zen Mikulski. Zen Mikulski was this man's direct, one of his guys who can make an immediate impact in the transfer portal. And I don't know exactly what tape he has been watching of Zen, whether in mop-up duty for the last few years or in the one game that he did start before getting hurt in the Nebraska game.
Yeah.
I don't know what tape there would be that would show me that he can be an immediate impact guy. That's just me. Again, hope he does better at his next stop, but that tells me that guy didn't really watch a whole lot of tape.
He didn't watch tape. I always say take PFF with a grain of salt, but I think PFF is useful. Go look there. You won't see much. I didn't hear about this. I'm so baffled by it. I'm kind of speechless about it. I don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the exact article.
While you pull that up, we leave a shout right here to Kansas City Chiefs fan from Lane. I'm going to say this right here. Is that Launceston, Australia? You don't know if did I say that right, Ryan?
I have no idea.
Launceston says, hi, guys. I'm Ohio State fan from Tasmania. Not very unwell today with a colder Khaled and cheese infection, coughing stuff up, throwing from green, yellow gut. Ouch. Not sleeping well. Shout out, please. Hey, man. I'm not sure what's going on over there and what's happening with you, man. But we both hope you feel better. That does not sound fun at all, man. We hope and prayers towards you, man. OH.
Yeah. So here is the article that was written.
Mm-hmm.
It is a way too early top 25 next season's breakout player for every top 25 team.
Okay.
And that's where this list came from initially. And hold on, let me see if I can. Here we go. Yeah. For the Indiana Hoosiers, because I don't know if people remember that's where he transferred to. But let me go ahead and show you exactly what this article says. So the Hoosiers picked up a key transfer from down the road in former Notre Dame center Pat Coogan, who is good. But another transfer could make a big role up front as Indiana revamps its offensive line after last year's playoff run. Mikulski stepped in after left tackle Josh Simmons sustained a season-ending injury, and then started the next game against Nebraska before sustaining his own injury. He could slide in at right tackle as his first season a full-time starter and solidify an Indiana offense that holds promise behind. Come on. Come on. Look, there is a reason that fans were screaming for him to be taken off. I mean,
yeah,
it's Trotter, like Jim Trotter. Come on, you're better than that. Watch some tape. He didn't. Honestly, it was a godsend that he got hurt against Nebraska. It was good for both Ohio State and probably Zen, because Zen probably would have gotten more hate than what he was really, going to be prepared to from Ohio State fans. And it ended up being better because Ohio State had to shift Donovan Jackson over, and he made himself a lot of money. So I think it ended up working out better for both parties, and wish him nothing but the best against the Hoosiers. With the Hoosiers, but not when they play Ohio State.
Yeah, it's Day One is not a Division I football player unless he gets the weights. I can't see.
Yeah, come on.
Oh yeah, it's.
Is there any other news or notes you wanted to hit? I know I came in with a lot.
I
wanted to bring to attention.
All right, so I wrote down a few things here. I want to get your take on it, as I always love to do. I already know what I feel, but I love to see what you say on these specific things. So, Brian Hartline said that Jeremiah has been speaking more in the meeting room. He's more vocal now. What do you think the impact of that will be?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's going to be a huge impact, just because, it's good that he's taken more of a vocal role. But we already know how good he is. So he should only get better. He was just a freshman last year. So maybe it's good to see even though he's a sophomore, see the other receivers kind of take his lead. Even, he's already shown to be a leader, at his young age, just the age of 19. So I think that's probably good, but I don't think it's going to make a, super tangible effect on the offense because he's already so damn good.
All right, I like it. Another thing. So Ryan Day said that the quarterbacks and wide receivers are being the same meetings right now. Do you think that's the best thing to do to make sure that BH is still with the wide receivers? Or do you think they should still have it separated? He can move room to room.
I think it's good that he's still there. He's shown to be the best wide receivers coach in the country with all of these guys that have come in. Now, it'll be interesting to see after this year, or even midway through the year, if this is something that can still be done, with him actually coordinating the offense and calling the plays and all of that. So it's going to be interesting to see how much of that is taking up his time, and whether or not he can allocate enough time to still be the wide receivers coach as well, or if they think that they may need to go out and get someone to just strictly dedicate his time to coaching the wide receivers. But I think it's a smart move. What do you think?
I like it. I think that because of how essential BH is to the wide receiver room, I do believe it was good for him to be there. And I also think it's good for him to have the quarterbacks in there. Ryan Day talked about, he's the guy that's having all the communication with the quarterbacks right now. So I think it's actually really good for the wide receivers to know, what's that communication look like when, because of course they can't hear what's going on through Julian or whoever else's headset or earpiece, right? That's in their helmet.
Yep.
So I think it's good that they're able to, see how that process runs. It's sometimes it's good to see, like, you get a higher appreciation of what your teammate is doing or what your coach had to go through. That ends up, when you're on the other end of it as a receiver from the quarterback and the coach. So I do like that. And well, another thing here. So Billy Fessler, quarterback coach for the Buckeyes now, new quarterback coach. I'm talking about Julian Sand. Clearly we all see Julian Sand has a very quick release, which is not a bad thing at all. But he also talked about how, as good as it is to get the ball out fast, sometimes you can't do that because, you don't want to sacrifice the velocity. So do you think in this first season or early in the season upcoming here, do you expect to see more, more quick developing plays from the Buckeyes this season and not plays where of course, you can have Will Howard do a 6-step drop of a play action or a 7-step drop and then throw the ball across the field?
Yeah, I think early on, especially against, that first game against Texas, who's a really good team coming into the shoe, you're going to need a little bit more of those quick developing plays for a guy who has never seen a starting defense before, no matter who the quarterback is. We both expect it to be Sand, but you can't have him holding the football for long on every play. There's going to have to be some quick hitters, some slants, some screens, stuff like that to get the ball out of his hands where he doesn't have to think and process as much against a really good defensive team. Now, I mean, Texas did lose some guys up front, but they're still going to be really good. It's still going to be one of the best defenses that he'll see all year. Following the Texas game, they can incorporate a little bit more of the, those, 7 to 10 step drops and really have him survey the field and, make some decisions there. But with you replacing a lot of guys up front on the offensive line as well, and having a brand new guy at quarterback, I think it would be smart to have some more quick hitting plays, especially in that first game.
What do you think about this comment right here from stage? Do you believe that he should be in the box or on the field?
I think he should do whatever he is most comfortable with. He's been on the field for most of his time. But obviously he's not calling plays. Like, he's not trying to look at, the all 11 and see which personnel groups are coming in so we can devise the right play call. I think he should do whatever he's most comfortable with, quite frankly. I don't really have a lean one way or the other. What about you?
On the field.
Okay.
And I think, and the reason for that being, with this being his first year calling plays, I think it's really important. And I would say this for, I think Tyler Bowen should be on the field.
Okay.
I almost feel like, outside of you need some people in the booth. Like, you need people in the booth. But I would like our most important people on the offense, on the offensive side of the ball, coaching, being on the field. That's because this is your first year of working together. And also, I think you got, like, if you're in that booth, you don't have as much contact with Ryan Day. I think those guys should be having contact with Ryan Day in this first season. So, like, Ryan Day didn't have to worry about Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly and Jim Nelson sit in the booth all they want. So, and let's just be honest, those guys are old and don't need to be, depending on working.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
So, that's how I feel about that. Then I also want to go through this. So, on our X page, this was shared here. And I always love seeing things like this because it reminds people like Juju. It reminds people like Juju. And honestly, let's not even say the Wolverines. It reminds 99.8. No, I would say 99.8% of the rest of the college football fan bases. Just who the hell we are. Because I feel like it's funny. It's so I think people like to make Ohio State the butt of the joke, right? Because it's just fun to do. When in all, and you know, a lot of people weird. And I never understood this, Ryan. They weirdly mock Ohio State based off of what Alabama has done, as if that shit is normal, right?
Yeah.
And then you see what everyone else in college football has done, and like everyone says, "Oh well, Garrison, you're cherry picking this and that." Dude, 25 years is a quarter century. That's a hell of a long time. It's a long time. So
Yeah.
when we see things like this, you know, it's what do you think about when fan bases do that?
Well, I mean, they're just doing. I mean, they're self-serving. That's what they're doing. So, I mean, you mentioned. I mean, since 2000, I mean, that was 20. That was a quarter of a century ago. Like the year 2000 was a while ago. Now, saying that out loud just made me feel old. But you know, it's quite jarring when you think about, because obviously under Saban, Alabama was, you know, they were the GOAT program. I mean, Saban's the GOAT coach, like he's the greatest of all time. I'm not sure we'll ever see a coaching run like that again. In fact, I would be shocked if we did in the modern day with NIL.
I mean, clearly it's only Bama that goes on runs like this. They've done it twice in the history. So I mean,
yeah. I mean, and you look at the other programs on this list. I mean, it's the other blue blood programs, and Ohio State certainly is that. And for them to have the second most national titles out of anyone, that's pretty impressive.
and then just to answer the question,
this I don't co-sign. I do not co-sign this comment.
Now, I would, if you ask me if Ohio State's a better program in terms of consistency throughout history, I could understand that, but.
Yeah, but not right now. I mean,
not right now.
You see these titles.
Yeah, right now I would say we're number 2.
Yeah, it's hard to argue.
But I mean, but what do you think is the most impressive national championship here? Like, I would argue that 2002 and 2014 are the most impressive ones on you.
So you're saying 2002 and which one? 2014? So you're saying both of those Ohio State?
Well, because 2002, listen, man, that team went 12-0. Don't know how, but they did it.
They went 14-0.
14-0. I mean, like just the regular season.
Oh yeah, the regular season. Yeah.
And then you went and beat.
Actually, regular season was 13-0 because that was when you could still have 13 regular season games if you wanted, which is a wild time.
Wild. But then they beat a team that probably I would say they could possibly beat half of these teams.
Yeah,
that Miami. I think people forget how good that Miami team was, and so I would say that in 2014. I mean, it's the first one. SEC dominance. We're in the middle of SEC dominance.
Yeah.
Then you play that Alabama game. No one thinks we're gonna win that, and they do it how they do it, and then they go and dog walk Oregon's greatest team ever with their Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. So, what do you think?
I mean, I think the 2002 national title is definitely impressive. Now, a lot of people outside of Columbus, they like to call that the luckiest national championship, in modern day history, because of how many close games they had all year. I mean, they were the cardiac Buckeyes that year, but it was definitely super impressive. But a lot of people are going to turn to that 2019 LSU team because a lot of people say that that's the best college football. Some people are trying to argue that is the best college football team ever. And you and I have both said on this show that had Ohio State not gotten screwed by the referees, they may have had something to say about that.
I don't give a shit what anyone says about that.
Yeah. So we're not. I mean, I'm not willing to go ahead and say that that's the most impressive national title on this list. But I mean, honestly, 2014, I think, is probably the most impressive on this list out of anybody because you go through. Not only is it the first year of a 4-team playoff, so you have a new format you have to deal with, but it was your third string quarterback that won the title, that helped you go through that run. Like, it wasn't like you lose Braxton before the year even starts. JT takes a loss at home early in the year, and it looks like the season's already over. It looks like you're already building towards 2015. And then they build momentum. They go ahead and go on this crazy run, and then JT gets hurt against Michigan. And then Cardale goes on, one of the greatest 3-game runs, in college football history, and solidifies the fact that he'll never have to buy a drink in the city again, and wins a national title, and beats Alabama. It beats Wisconsin, Alabama, and Oregon on the way of doing that.
3 games, 3 rings.
Yeah, exactly. So that if you got to nail down one national title on that list for me, that's where I go.
Nice. Yeah, man. Do you have
anything else you want to? Yeah, I was about to say, anything else you want to hit before we get on out of here?
Yeah, just a reminder, tomorrow with a Buckeye Brigade with myself, Jeff from Juck on Bucks, Chris Drew, Cleve Mike, Ron, and B Moses from Buckeye Scoop will all be here tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So see you guys there. Also, I'm not sure where we're at right now, but I'm pretty sure we're about 10 away from 9,000 subscribers, everyone. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel if you like the content and want to join the community here at the Voice of College Football, and which we would love to have you here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Other than that, we'll see you guys on Thursday for the call-in show.
Yeah, we'll see you guys Thursday. And for those, I just happened to see this pop up on my phone during the show. For those of you that are Ohio State basketball fans as well, they just lost Evan Mahaffey to the transfer portal. And when I say lost, I mean it's a good thing. So we can talk about, Ohio State basketball fans, we could talk about that some other time. But we will see you guys on Thursday. Bring your comments, questions, concerns, and we'll talk to you guys then. Before we go here, this is bad. I'm sure you saw that there were some lawsuits filed at Weiss, basically claiming that Michigan was complicit with this whole deal. So we'll have to see how that plays out here.
So I talked about it with you guys, with a few friends, but on Thursday before we take some calls, let's talk about that, because I actually I got a little source from someone I know that's an athletic director whose mentor just happens to be Ward. So yeah, we can talk then. I have some fun notes for you.
All right, well we'll talk about it on Thursday. We'll see you guys then. OH.
IO.